Motorcycles have always symbolized freedom. But what if I told you some of the most popular mods and features riders love are actually banned in the US? From outlaw handlebars to forbidden gadgets, the laws are stricter and stranger than most riders realize. In this countdown, we're exposing 11 motorcycle features you cannot legally use on the road. Some were banned decades ago. Others are still being sold today, even though they're illegal. And trust me, the number one feature will absolutely shock you, because it's the last thing you'd ever expect regulators to outlaw. Number 11. Apehanger handlebars. Few images are as iconic as a chopper rolling down the highway with bars stretching so high the rider looks like they're hanging from a pull-up bar. These are known as Apehangers, and while they became symbols of rebellion in the 60s and 70s, they're heavily restricted today. In many states, it's illegal to ride with handlebars higher than your shoulders. Other states set exact measurements, usually somewhere between 15 and 30 inches above the seat. Lawmakers argue that excessively tall bars make it harder to steer, reduce circulation in the rider's arms, and cause fatigue on long rides. Riders argue they're part of biker culture. Still, the law is clear. If your grips sit above your shoulders, you're one traffic stop away from a ticket. Many riders with 16 or 18-inch bars assume they're fine, but technically, in several states, they're breaking the law every time they ride. Number 10. Turn signals you can't remove. Before the 1970s, motorcycles often didn't have turn signals at all. Riders used hand signals, which worked fine during the day, but were hard to see at night. In 1973, federal safety standards made turn signals mandatory on new motorcycles. That means if your bike was built after that year, you cannot legally remove or disable them. Yet plenty of customizers strip signals off bobbers and cafe racers for a cleaner look. Others tuck them in so far that they're practically invisible. On the street, both are violations. The rule is simple. If your bike left the factory with blinkers, they must work. Only bikes manufactured before the cutoff are exempt. For everyone else, deleting signals might make your bike look sleek, but it's not road legal. This surprises many riders because stripped-down builds are so common, but legally they're out of compliance unless grandfathered in. Number 9. Straight pipes and muffler cutouts. Ask any rider what makes motorcycles exciting, and sound will be high on the list. Straight pipes and cutout mufflers have been staples of custom builds for decades, offering raw noise and a sense of power. But they're flat-out illegal on US roads. Every state requires motorcycles to have a working muffler, and federal emissions laws demand functioning catalytic converters. Michigan's vehicle code, for example, explicitly bans muffler cutouts or bypass devices. In practical terms, this means no open pipes, no removable baffles, and no quick flip cutouts that turn a quiet system into a roar at the press of a button. Regulators say the bans are about controlling noise and protecting the environment. Riders often argue loud pipes save lives, but lawmakers view them as a nuisance. In fact, Harley-Davidson itself was fined millions for selling tuner kits that let owners bypass emissions controls. Straight pipes might sound good to you, but to the law, they're public enemy number 1. Number 8. Oversized air horns. Safety-conscious riders sometimes install loud air horns, reasoning that a louder blast could save them from a distracted driver. But there's a limit. Vehicle codes in most states require that motorcycle horns be reasonable and forbid any that produce an excessively loud or harsh sound. In plain English, train horns and truck horns are off-limits. Sure, an air horn might shock a texting driver back into reality, but regulators argue that such devices go too far, turning a safety tool into a public disturbance. The rules may seem nitpicky, but they apply across the board. Motorcycles must have horns, but those horns must be designed for motorcycles. Anything that rattles windows or makes pedestrians jump will earn you a ticket. Number 7. Flashing or strobe LEDs. Lighting mods are among the most popular ways to customize a bike. Riders add underglow kits, blinking brake lights, or strobes to make their machines stand out. But in most states, flashing auxiliary lights are illegal. Michigan, for instance, bans flashing, oscillating, or blinking LEDs on motorcycles except for factory turn signals. Other states prohibit specific colors. Tennessee and Texas, for example, reserve flashing red, white, or blue lights for emergency vehicles. That means any strobe strips, alternating LEDs, or show-style light bars on your bike are violations if you use them on public roads. Riders are often shocked by this because decorative kits are sold everywhere, and they look amazing at night. But legally, they're for off-road or show use only. On the street, they can get you pulled over fast. Number 6. Red and blue police lights. Closely related to the strobe ban is the outright prohibition of red and blue lighting. Almost every state reserves front-facing red and blue lights for law enforcement and emergency vehicles. The logic is obvious. Drivers must be able to instantly recognize when a police car or ambulance is approaching. If a civilian motorcycle has red or blue LEDs up front, it can cause confusion or even impersonation charges. Rear-facing red, of course, is fine because it's a standard taillight color. But any red or blue shining forward is illegal. Many riders don't realize that even small accent strips count. A couple of blue pods on your front forks or red LEDs under the fairing may look harmless, but legally they put you in the category of impersonating law enforcement. That's not a ticket you want to fight in court. Number 5. Emissions defeat devices. This is one of the most overlooked bans because so many aftermarket parts are still available online. The Environmental Protection Agency prohibits any device that tampers with or bypasses a motorcycle's emission system. That includes catalytic converter delete kits, air injection block-offs, and ECU flash tools not certified for street use. Harley-Davidson learned this the hard way in 2016, paying millions after selling street tuner kits that let bikes run without emissions controls. The law views these as defeat devices, the same category as the infamous Volkswagen Dieselgate scandal. Riders often assume that if a product is sold, it must be legal. In reality, most of these parts are labeled for off-road or competition use only. Installing them on a street bike puts you out of compliance with federal law, even if you never face inspection. The crackdown on emissions tampering is only getting tougher, and ignoring it can cost you dearly. Number 4. License plate flippers and obscurers. Everyone has seen them in movies. Press a button and your license plate flips, hides, or disappears. On motorcycles, retractable plate holders and tinted covers are popular with stunt riders and show bikes. But on the street, they're completely illegal. States like Texas, Washington, Pennsylvania, and many others explicitly ban mechanical or electronic devices that obscure plates. Even without a gadget, covering your plate with tape or film, or swapping it with a fake, is against the law. The reasoning is clear. Traffic cameras, toll systems, and law enforcement need to see your registration. Anything that blocks or hides your plate is treated as an attempt to evade the law. Riders sometimes argue these mods are harmless fun, but police see them as tools for hit-and-run drivers or toll cheats. If you're caught with one on the road, expect hefty fines or even criminal charges. Number 3. No mirrors at all. This one sounds basic, but it catches a lot of custom builders off guard. Stripped-down bobbers and cafe racers often ditch mirrors entirely for a sleeker look. But in 22 states, at least one rear-view mirror is legally required on motorcycles. Some states demand 2, while others insist on 1 on the left side. Even where the law is vague, inspection stations can fail a bike with no mirrors, citing safety concerns. The purpose is obvious. Without mirrors, you can't see what's behind you, and lane changes become risky. Riders sometimes think mirrors are optional, but for many jurisdictions they're not. If you're rolling around with a clean bar setup and no rear view, you may look cool, but you're riding illegally. Number 2. Metal-tipped get-back whips. Hanging from the clutch or brake lever, braided whips, better known as get-back whips, have long been part of motorcycle culture. They trace their roots back to the biker clubs of the 1960s and 70s, often used to display club colors, add flair, or act as a practical piece of gear. In some cases, they served as makeshift tools, used to signal fellow riders or even deter aggressive drivers by dangling visibly in traffic. But here's the part many riders overlook. While plain leather whips are usually legal, adding any kind of metal to the end instantly changes their status. A whip with a weighted tip, steel studs, or beads is no longer seen as decoration. It's legally considered a weapon. In states like California, such a modified whip falls into the same category as a slingshot. a restricted weapon on par with brass knuckles. That makes simple possession a potential criminal offense. The problem is that a lot of riders think of whips purely as ornamentation, not realizing the law looks at intent and capability. Police officers and courts don't see a studded whip as harmless flair. They see it as a dangerous, concealed weapon that could cause serious injury. For that reason, dealerships and accessory shops often warn customers. Keep your whips ornamental only. Stick to plain leather, no detachable tips, no weighted ends. Anything more could put you at risk of arrest, fines, or worse. What looks like a cool piece of biker heritage can very easily cross the line into an illegal weapon. Number 1. Seatbelts on motorcycles. If there's one ban that surprises almost everyone, it's this. Seatbelts on motorcycles are not only uncommon, they're prohibited. At first glance, it sounds backward. After all, seatbelts save lives in cars. Shouldn't they add safety on two wheels too? But research and decades of crash data tell a different story. Motorcycle safety experts concluded long ago that being strapped to a motorcycle is more dangerous than being thrown clear. In a collision, the bike itself often becomes a projectile, tumbling and twisting unpredictably. Being tied to it dramatically increases the chance of being crushed or dragged along the pavement. That's why federal safety standards explicitly prohibit manufacturers from equipping street-legal motorcycles with seatbelts. The same reasoning has been used to reject experimental ideas like partial roll cages or belt systems for riders. The underlying philosophy is that in a crash, separation from the machine gives riders their best chance at survival. While that may feel counterintuitive, studies consistently show it's safer. So while seatbelts save countless lives in cars, on motorcycles they're not only ineffective, they're actually banned. From towering Apehangers to sneaky plate flippers, from glowing blue strobes to hidden emissions deletes, the US has banned a wide range of motorcycle features. Some of these bans protect riders. Others protect the public from noise or pollution. And some exist simply to stop bad actors from abusing technology. But they all share one truth. Freedom on two wheels comes with limits. If you're building or modifying a bike, knowing these bans isn't just about staying legal, it's about staying safe. Ignore them, and the next stoplight might not just bring a red light, it could bring flashing ones in your mirror.